As South Africa continues marking Women's Month, let's bring you this conversation. In a country where harmful alcohol use continues to fuel violence, road crashes, and poor health outcomes, as well as family breakdown, and where gambling has become increasingly accessible through digital platforms and sports betting, the need for strong public activists has never been greater. In fact, they come in the form of women leading South Africa's fight against alcohol harm, gambling addiction, and gender-based violence. Let's bring in from Masimanyane, Women's Rights International, I beg your pardon. That's Dr. Lesley Ann Foster, who's our guest to help us expand more on this. Dr. Lesley, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. As a start, perhaps let's place the kind of work that you do in your organization.
Good afternoon to you and to all viewers. Well, Masimanyane has been running for 30 years now, and we see issues of alcohol abuse, substance abuse, meaning drugs as well, and gambling as drivers of gender-based violence in our communities. It's an intersecting issue, and therefore we address it quite robustly with communities. We work with young people, with older people, and we work within rural and urban settings. Every meeting we go to now, people talk about the huge impact that alcohol has on families, on individuals, causing a lot of harm, and particularly gender-based violence. So it's a very critical issue, together with drug abuse and gambling. Gambling impoverishes families because it's always people with very few resources that go out and try and make money, in some kind of betting game, and that's very dangerous. And as an organization, we do not take support for the work we do from any alcohol, tobacco, and gambling institutions. That's how serious we take the issue.
I'm so glad you've gone there, because that's exactly what I was hoping we'd speak a bit more about, this notion that gambling can be as harmful as alcohol abuse. But the sense I get is that there isn't really much attention about how addictive gambling can be and how it can also contribute to the breakdown of the family and ultimately breakdown of society.
Absolutely. Gambling is an addiction, and it's a dangerous addiction because it takes away necessary resources from individuals and their families. And it also, we see that young people are, taking to gambling methods now through these Hollywood bets and, other institutions such as that. They have sports bets and so forth. And recently we were approached by a group who had won licenses for betting and, for gambling. And they approached us wanting to give us 1% of their gross profits. And we said we can't do that because it is extremely harmful to women and men because of the losses. People lose their homes, their livelihoods. They can give up everything they have in order to win, hope that the next, gamble will be something that they win. But basically it's food insecurity, it's job insecurity because people can lose their jobs. And we've known people that have gambled out their entire salaries in the hope that they would, catch that big amount of money. But it's very harmful because then it hurts women and it hurts girl children as well, because, in the frustration and anger of the person who gambles, they will come home and carry out some form of violence towards members of the family. And that's very dangerous. We see that as being really problematic.
How difficult is it for you and the work that you do, considering the fact that gambling, in some instances, as you mentioned, is still a bit romanticized? I mean, we as a society now have come to a point where, for example, smoking has been banned. I think alcohol ads also aren't necessarily being flighted on television. But even as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, you'll hear an ad around gambling, whether on TV or on radio.
Yes, it's very harmful. And, as I mentioned earlier on, younger people are taking to gambling in different ways because it comes disguised as something exciting, and there's a possibility that it would make your dreams come true, which is very, very untruthful. It's really a lie because very few people actually win, but people get caught up in the notion that they can, become instantly rich, and that they then, engage in these harmful activities. And it's the very activities that undermine them as individuals, because losing, your resources also leads to anxiety and depression. So gambling has a very serious impact on one's mental health. And that, I think, then, spills over into other areas of your life. You can become withdrawn, you can become depressed, suicidal. Those are the kinds of difficult issues that people face. And with any addiction, it has an immensely harmful impact. And that's why we have to stop it. So we can't just look at, the issue, for instance, of gender-based violence without looking at what the context is. And context is everything in these cases. Of course, it's not the only thing, it's not the main driver, but it does lead to a lot of violence in our communities. And I may just mention the Enyobeni issue in East London, Gugompo, where I come from, how 19 children, died in that incident. And that's linking again, the various forms of addictions that can harm people significantly.
Right. In most instances, though, people aren't really aware that they are facing addiction until, the consequences start making themselves very evident.
Too late.
Yeah, until it's too late, correct. And so I suppose the question then becomes, how does one pick that up before that point?
Yeah. It's actually, if one's vigilant, you can pick up you can pick up the problem quite early on. I mean, I have young people in my own family, and when they start telling you about, yay, this is going to happen, I'm going to win this amount of money, or I'm playing the lotto or something like that, then the thing to do is not to encourage it, not to revere it as being an opportunity to overcome whatever challenges you have. And what we tend to do is to buy into that notion, that dream that you're going to become instantly rich and, something wonderful is going to change your life through gambling. I think that's a really big challenge that we have. Something I see that's growing on the internet, and of course now digital access is so easy for everyone, that becomes a problem because children are actually able to gamble online without, being seen or being found out as quickly as they would if they were doing it physically in front of one. I think that's a very big issue as well. And everybody's being offered this, if you join AI and you put in $20, which is about, 300 Rand, you can double it in a day and things like that. That's all gambling, and we don't classify all of those opportunities that people see and hear now as actual gambling strategies. So we have to become more vigilant, because gambling is not the same as it used to be, where you'd have to go to a betting office and put down some money. Now you do it online, you do it on your phone, and it's very easy, for that to just become a habit, and you don't understand that it's actually sucking you into an addiction. So I think those are very big problems. I think we need much more advertising around the harms of these addictions. I think we need to do a lot more community work around addictions as well, because when we very much boots on the ground organization. So when we go in and we work in with groups and we talk to them about the harms of various addictions, they're not always able to understand that and to see it. But we work with them to understand how extremely difficult this is. So you also find in situations where people, are given maybe the basic social grant, that they take the little bit of money they have, and instead of using it in a positive way, and so many people have shown how they can use it in a positive way to grow a business, people will go and gamble. Or they'll get in, drink or something like that. So gambling is very destructive. With the lotto is of course the biggest gambling platform in South Africa. The purpose of that was to get ordinary people to invest in development programs. And as we know, some of that has happened, but a lot of it has also led to so much corruption.
Right.
And so that platform hasn't been as positive as what it was meant to be, in the time when it was set up.
Absolutely.
So I think that's also something to consider.
So many different layers to this crucial conversation. Thanks for at least helping us start the dialogue, and hopefully throughout this month we'll continue to expand on it. But we're going to have to leave it there. Dr. Lesley Ann Foster, really appreciate the time with Masimanyane Women's Rights International. Once again, thanks very much indeed.